This over again. The first time was a warm up. Hey, what's going on, guys? Daniel from ModBot here. Thank you for tuning in to episode 6 of Maker's Minute. This is a podcast that I started back in January, basically as a way to highlight awesome makers and creators that I have met over the last 6 years through doing YouTube and through work stuff and through friends of friends and all that good stuff. And I wanted to have a way to kind of get to highlight them, talk to them a bit more, maybe share some of their tips, tricks, experiences, stories, things of that nature. This is a live stream, but afterwards I will fix the messed up intro and upload the audio portion of it to iTunes and Apple or Google Play and all of that good stuff and Spotify. So if you just have a long commute or if you're stuck inside and want to listen to audio while you're doing something, that is always an option. But yeah, in this episode, we've got my buddy Travis from A Pyro Design, who I have known for quite a few years now. He does a lot of really awesome stuff. I will let him give his intro round 2.
All right. Yeah, I said it before, but I'll say it a little bit better this time, maybe. Okay, I used to do all these crazy, insane 3D printed logos and laser cut logos where I would make these really insane projects and give them to big YouTubers like Boogie2988, Dame Drops, like crazy big YouTubers. Cinemassacre was the one I actually started with, and it started as a passion project, and it was like super I had started 3D printing like back in 2011, and I was watching Cinemassacre, and I was like, oh, I could just make something for this dude, like, because I had a chance to go to PAX. You know what PAX is?
The game convention. Absolutely.
Yeah, so I've told this story before, but this is how I kind of got started into Logos to Life. I had a chance to go to PAX. I was like, okay, maybe I could just make this cool little logo for him. I can like 3D print his logo and like just make it really cool and give it to him or whatever. And I did that, and I met him at PAX, and it was super cool. And like I didn't it was like kind of a quick meeting. Like it was just like, sure. Oh, here you go, like whatever.
Yeah.
And I took a picture with him, and I didn't hear anything for like a few months, and then all of a sudden I see a video on his YouTube channel. He's talking about like this logo that this guy gave him, and he didn't know who it was and like all this stuff. And he had tried to like find out and all this stuff. So he actually had putting that logo in his movie. So the Angry Video Game Nerd.
Yeah.
Do you know who the Angry Video Game Nerd is?
I used to collect a ton of retro games. I don't watch as many of the guys anymore, but he was definitely one of the people I subscribed to, along with like oh gosh, what's like Game Chasers. There's one guy that had like the video game Hall of Fame cartridge. I can't think of his name. He got it at like a swap meet or like a garage. Yeah, but like the whole I know the gang.
A ton of them.
Yeah. I'm familiar with them.
Yeah, James Rolfe, Angry Video Game Nerd. He was like one of the first ones. He started doing like all the video game reviews of bad games, bad NES games.
Yeah, they're hilarious.
Yeah, so I did that, and he ended up putting it in his movie, and I was like, holy crap, this is amazing. So, like, I think it was like a year and a half or something later, his movie was coming out, and I got a chance to go to PAX again. And I, like, took it, and I made another one. I made his little Cinemassacre logo with the chainsaw and stuff. Yeah. And I took that, and I gave it to him at the movie premiere at PAX. And he then knew who I was by this point because we had chatted a little bit.
Yeah.
And he asked me, he's like, "Do you want to do some more of these? I got all these other logos and stuff, and we just like can do this for a bit." And I was like, "Yeah, sure. Just put my name in the credits, and I'll do these." And that's how Logos to Life was kind of born. Like I just started doing them for him, and then I started thinking about it. I was like, wait, maybe I could do this for other big YouTube channels, and I just like reached out to Dame Drops was the next one. Big guy in the foodie community.
Oh yeah,
if you guys don't know.
Damn. That's
Yeah, and that dude, like, he kind of like catapulted me into like a lot of different areas. He was the one who introduced me to Boogie and like all these other YouTubers like Reckless Eating and like all these crazy bigger YouTube channels. And it was just like, I was like, oh, cool, I could do this for all these, and like kind of just bounced all over the place. It was like weird because like some of these channels I hadn't even seen, and like when I would start a project, I would be like, okay, I'm gonna start watching this channel. I can't just like go into something because it was a passion thing. I wanted to like
get a
really
feel
put
for
my
it.
heart into it and
Yeah.
like see what their channel was all about. And that's why when I did the videos, there was so many like when I made my YouTube videos, there was so much like of that channel I tried to put into there. I was like, I would go back and watch their very first videos. I would even like watch their videos while I was making the logos and
For
painting them and
inspiration.
sanding
Yeah.
them and stuff. Yeah. So I don't know, it just ended up being like a really fun thing, and I did it for a lot of years because after all that with like the foodies and stuff, I kind of moved. That's when I contacted Joel, and that's how I got kind of into the 3D printing community. Because previously, before that, I'd been doing all this 3D printing and these logos, and I'd been doing them for all these big YouTubers and stuff. But I had never even like once talked to anybody in the 3D printing community.
That's so funny.
Yeah, so I reached out to Joel and did the high five logo for him,
Yep.
and
The hand.
yeah, the hand with the little printer head on top, and he put that on National High Five Day. I think he released that one, and like that just like exploded me into the 3D printing community too. It was like, and then I was kind of bouncing back and forth and all over the place with the 3D printing people and the foodies and like all these bigger YouTubers. Like, it went on for a few years. It got like really, really tough though. Like,
to keep up,
like,
or
to keep up, yeah, because the projects were just like so intense, and like, you know, it was like the expectation, because like I was working with some really big YouTube channels, it just got really, really intense, and like some of these projects would take me like months to do, and I just like couldn't, you know, and then I would be releasing a video like once every month or you know, and I tried to do stuff in between, and I started to like try to like review printers and like do all this crazy stuff, and it just wasn't working. Like it was too much to handle. And so, I don't know, I kind of shifted away from that and started doing a little bit of other like random 3D printing stuff. And I feel like I'm just like blurting out, talking like crazy.
No, it's great. I mean, the whole point of this this episode is to talk about you. So no, I didn't know this stuff, and like I've known you for some years now. I mean, like most of the times when we've talked has been the couple of times we met up, or I've seen you at one of the, you know, trade shows for 3D printing or Maker Fair or something like that. But no, I didn't even know how you got your start, and I didn't even realize I had seen your video with Boogie's shield that you made, but I didn't realize actually until recently that you had done, like, I knew you'd done lots of logos to life, but I didn't realize that a lot of them were for big YouTubers. Like I saw the one from it's Dame Drops is how you say it. Yeah, so I saw that one just recently and was like, oh crap, like I didn't even know about that one, to be honest with you. I think that probably, and I'll have to look back because there was some years ago where I made a video talking about like my favorite 3D printing YouTubers, and it was you, it was A Pyro, it was A Designs, and it was 3D printing. Why I always make 3D printing, not online. I'm mixing up. I feel bad.
There was so many.
There's but I that was when I originally, like around that time, had started watching a lot of your stuff, and I think that the reason or the way I had seen it was through Joel's, probably the video that you did on that. I think that's where I first saw it, was like, oh snap. And then you did a lot of stuff around video games, which I've always been a huge video game guy, and like cartridge stuff, and you've got a lot of kind of like retro-y things. So I was like, yeah, like combining the two things that I really like this is rad. So but yeah, I didn't realize that one, you had done so many previous logos to life before that, and two, one thing that I just realized is you said you've been 3D printing since 2011. I didn't realize you've been 3D printing that long. Why?
Yeah, dude.
That was like my first segue, or like one of the first questions I had was, how did you get into 3D printing? I've never, like, that's something I always like to ask, like, how did you hear of it or see of it, or like how did you see it in 2011? Because I assume that was back when. It's
crazy, yeah, because that was like actually it might have been 2010. It was somewhere around that area. I was going to college about an hour and a half away from here. Do you know where Chico is?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, so
State is a lot of,
I didn't go to Chico State. I wasn't that fancy, but
yeah,
I was going to Butte College. It's the community college up in that area, and it's actually a friggin' really awesome school. Like the art director there, I was doing a lot of 3D modeling stuff, and I was doing just like Photoshop classes and like a bunch of stuff like that. But I got in really close with the art director there, and he was just getting one of the old Stratasys
like
freaking giant Dimension
monsters,
like, those big monsters. They had to use in the lye and stuff, like to like rinse off the supports and like all this crazy stuff. But he was getting that, and it was like freaking some insane amount, like 20-30 grand with that and the filament, like all this stuff. And he had nobody that knew how to use it, and I didn't know how to use it either. But he's like, "Oh, you know," because I was like one of the few people that was doing 3D modeling around there. I'm actually the one who pushed him into like doing more 3D modeling classes at that school. I was like, "You need to get this more into the curriculum."
Yeah, this is the future.
Yeah, exactly. So he, like, I had free access to this thing. Like, there was piles of filament. Like, I could just go in there anytime and use this thing whenever I wanted to. And that's how I learned how to 3D print. I was like, oh, I'm at school. Like, I went there just to do that. I would spend hours just sitting there, and it did take hours to slice 3D prints back then. It was freaking insane. The software, I don't even remember what it was called, but it was so terrible. It was like,
it was proprietary, right? It had to have been like their own thing.
Yeah. It was proprietary, but it actually, everything that came off of that thing was like perfect though. I mean, I think the layer lines, like the lowest you can go was like 2.5 millimeter. The layer lines were thicker than
you could see them. Yeah,
and you could definitely see it was like all ABS, like it was all one color. It was like crazy, like how different it was back then. And I had to like the supports were like this black stuff that was like super, like it printed out like plastic, but you had to literally wash it in like a warm bath of lye and water and like let it soak for hours. It was crazy.
Was it SR30 by any chance? Was it called SR30? Because I know like ABS and HIPS is common, but I know that Stratasys has a patent on a material called SR30, which is like their support material. I don't know if it was around in 2010. I'm not sure if it was newer, but I know that's what they use now.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. I just remember. I know it was like the dimension. I'm sure I could look it up.
Yeah. Gotcha. But it was pretty nasty stuff. Like it was rough to get off.
It was pretty nasty. Like, yeah, and it stunk, and like I was like, wearing big old gloves like to freaking wash the prints off and stuff.
Hazmat suit on.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, I feel like all these chemicals I've been around for years. I'm like, oh god, man,
this can't be good for.
Yeah, with the laser cutting, like, I could go into like days of like stuff I've been around.
Jeez.
So that led to, that's actually where I printed that first Angry Video Game Nerd little model or whatever, the logo. And I just, it kind of took a while for me to even start. Like I didn't even start like my first Logos to Life video leading back to that, because that kind of happened all in the same time. Like I printed the Angry Video Game Nerd logo there, and then like that was a while after that, and hadn't even been going to school anymore by the time I did the Cinemassacre one. That was when I got my Ultimaker 2.
Was that your first printer that you bought for yourself?
That was my first actual desktop printer, and I had to relearn how to 3D print because I had been doing things with supports and dimension and all that stuff, like the Stratasys stuff. So I completely had to relearn everything. It was terrible.
That's a pretty awesome though starter desktop printer, man. Like I know that I never used the 2s, only the upgraded 2 Plus versions, but like they're freaking workhorses, man. Like I mean, they might not have all the bells and whistles, they might be single extrusion, but like it's really often I talk to people, they're like, yeah, I've got one with like thousands of hours and it's still going strong, man.
Me too. I mean, I have upgraded it. I upgraded it to the 2 Plus or whatever, a couple years ago or a few years ago. And but it's still just freaking same motors, it's just like freaking churns, man. Like that's my go-to printer. I actually upgraded it to 1.75 when I was messing with the Palette 2 to try to use it with that. But I never really got many places with those palettes. I always had too many issues with that stuff.
I've got one I've had for about a year that I've been meaning to test out, and I've gotten really spotty results. But to be fair, like most of my printers are like Ender machines, and so I've always been like, that's not fair. Like I don't want to try it on a stock Creality. Like maybe if I upgrade one with like a Bondtech, like that would be fair. So because like I got on one machine at one point a pretty good Chameleon, but other than that, to me, just like I haven't tried Prusa's MMU the multi-material. Oops.
Yeah, I haven't tried them either.
Yeah, but with I don't know, man. A lot of the multi-material stuff to me, like just seeing some of what like Garrett and Chelsea have had to go through with like their Buzz Lightyear model, I'm like, oh god, man. Like I don't know if that's for me. That just seems like so much work. But the Ultimakers, that machine is a pretty badass machine. So when did you get that? What year was that?
I actually have a video on YouTube of me unboxing that. It's like just so terrible. Like that had to have been like 2014, 2015,
Okay.
somewhere
Yeah,
somewhere around that time.
2014 is when I
Um,
got my first printer for myself. So that's about the time you got your desktop printer as well then.
yeah, that sounds about right. And like I said, I had to relearn everything. That's the one thing I did want was at least a dual extrusion because I was so used to being able to print supports and just be able to like I would put any model into that thing and just print solid supports all around it,
And it would be
dissolvable
fine.
stuff, and it would
Yeah.
just be perfect. You know,
God,
that's
the
it
luxury,
was.
man. The luxury.
Yeah, exactly. So the luxury went to like, and the Ultimaker 2 is fucking awesome,
Yeah,
believe me.
yeah.
But going from that to that, I was like, God
What a
damn, I have to put everything
downgrade.
flat, and, like
Yeah.
put all these janky supports that don't come off, especially because
Gosh.
they didn't have like.
Good settings or anything like that. Uh-oh. Did I lose you?
Network. Oh shit, our network dropped
You back?
for a second.
You're back.
Hold on, I'm back.
Yeah, I
The
hear you. No
network
worries.
dropped out for
Okay,
a
yeah,
second. That was
no worries.
super weird.
So the last thing I heard was that Slicer, like something about support settings, and then you said Slicer Ultimaker.
Oh, I was saying, yeah, like back when I had the Ultimaker too, because like I was comparing it to that, like um, the slicer and like Cura back then and stuff, and the way the supports came off was just so
Garbage, right?
terrible.
Yeah.
Like yeah, I was just so like I was like, oh, this printer sucks. Like it was funny too because like over the years I've learned to appreciate what's really awesome about it and stuff like that. But when I first got it, I was like, how can I like this thing work like this?
Gosh, man. Yeah, my first printer, I wish it was an Ultimaker 2, but I got myself a XYZ DaVinci 1.0, which was terrible.
Mhm.
And
I remember you telling that
oh
story. Yeah.
God, it's so bad, dude. But yeah, similar story when it came to supports off the bat. So when I'd hacked or flashed mine pretty quickly, so I was using Repetier, instead of their XYZ slicer that was way worse. But
Okay.
yeah, even with
Yeah.
the Repetier, God, am I saying that right? Repetier host. I think that's what it is. But
Yeah, I know. I've always had trouble with that.
yeah, like I used to call it Repetier, and then someone was like, "Oh
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
it's Repetier." Whatever, man. You know what I'm talking about. So, but yeah, the default support settings. Oh man, they welded to the prints every single time. Like,
Yep. Yep.
if I had any intricate print, it was basically either ruined or looking about like 50% of the quality I knew I could get from it.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I was so disappointed, and so for a long time because of that, I was actually really scared to use supports. I was like, nope, I only want to like I would cut models in half just to avoid having to
Mhm.
do supports. I was like, I don't want to touch it, and then.
Yeah.
When I finally got back to using it, I was like, and Kira was the slicer that got me to transition to a different
Yeah,
slicer, and I was really mind blown. Like, granted, yes, it's still not the same. Like, I've used PVA or I've used HIP, well, not really HIPs, but I've used
Yeah,
PVA
yeah.
on like dual extrusion, and don't get me wrong, like having
Yeah.
water soluble is awesome. Like, there's way less thought that
Yeah,
has to
yeah.
go into it, but it's
Yeah.
gotten a lot better as far as like
Oh, for
the
sure.
built-in
For
the
sure.
built-in air gaps and like the interfacing layers being more solid.
Mhm.
Like you can do a pretty good job where the PLOA is nice, but yeah, originally, man,
Yeah, yeah.
oh God, like it was brutal. It was so bad. Like you're sitting there with like pliers trying to rip
Yeah.
things off and
Spending
like
hours on that
yeah.
stuff. Like, and then like when I was doing some of those beginning logos too, I would have to sit there and sand it, like, because it was so rough and like so terrible. I was just like sitting there forever, like trying to get that edges of like the nasty support off and stuff.
That I've never been like I'm call me lazy. I don't like sanding at all, man. I despise it. Like I'll do it a little bit. Don't get me wrong. Like if it's a part and I can grab like my metal file and just file off the little edges or whatever. But to get something like smooth to the point of what you've done or like what other like way more patient people than me have done. I haven't really done it yet at all.
Kelsey's like
Yeah,
freaking
insane,
crazy.
insane.
She's even crazier than I am with that stuff. I actually held my models next to her models because we did
Comparison?
the Sonic or whatever
Yeah,
together.
oh, yeah,
I was yeah.
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
that was a cool
she's crazy.
collaboration. When it comes to the projects that you've done with the logos to life, the amount of time that goes into them, like I can completely understand why it's not something that you can do under pressure. Like with the amount of time that goes into it, like I get sometimes where I'm like, man, I don't even know if I can keep up, and a lot of mine are more like review tutorial type stuff and like I don't know, they're a lot more
Yeah.
simplistic in terms of you can complete them in a weekend, or if you do some hours after work,
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
complete it. While
Yeah.
for yours, like the amount of detail, like, because I mean, a lot of the stuff you were doing was the design, the actual like machining, the
Mhm.
assembly, and all of the cleanup and painting that goes into it, or
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
the so yeah, it's insane, man. Like I actually I watched the Boogie one again because I hadn't seen it since you originally
Yeah.
launched it, and just the amount of like the pegs in the shield, man, and like all of the
Yeah.
sanding and stuff. I'm like, there's no way, like this is insane.
Well, then I
Um,
would spend so much time editing the damn video too and putting all this random stuff in and like trying to
yeah,
make like these little clips and like
the
crazy stuff.
dances of Boogie and stuff. That was awesome,
It,
man. It's super
it was
cool.
nuts, man. Yeah,
Um,
because I knew those videos would get like a lot of views, and I
sure,
knew that
it
like
was worth
if
putting the
they
time
are
into it.
showing it off just by that, you know, I'm gonna. So I wanted to make sure those videos were like super like good, you know. It's
Yeah.
like I had to like put my all into it, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I've been making videos on and off for probably about 8 years now. Like I've strayed away from it due to like life things or just getting burnt out and deciding I had other things that were taking priority. And I always come back just because I like staying busy. I like sharing like what I'm doing, and it just seems to be it's something I've enjoyed doing for a long time. But yeah, it's definitely one thing that I've learned is that did you freeze? Oh, you're back.
It dropped again.
Oh, okay.
I don't know
Yeah,
what is that doing that.
I heard your audio. I heard your audio. I just didn't see your face moving. But yeah, like the one thing is that any video that you create could be the one that is like what decides whether
Hmm.
someone decides to follow you and likes your stuff. And I'm like,
Yeah.
man, well, thinking with
Yeah.
that mindset, like, would I be happy with this if this is this quality where I think that if they see this, is it, and then you start looking at things differently. I'm like, I don't know. Like I'm watching my video, I'm not sure I'm entertained right now. And then there's a balance too though between like because the tutorial ones I'm like, all right, I'm not really trying to be super entertaining. I more just want to show you how to do something. But
Yeah.
for like the showcasey ones, I'm like, no, this needs to be entertaining. Like people, I mean, I like. Not that everyone is like me by any means, but I'm very like snap, snap, snap. So if I like, get bored, I'm like, all right, I'm done with the video, or I'm just clicking through it. I'm like 2 minutes, 5 minutes,
Exactly.
8 minutes done. So with that
Yeah.
mindset, I always try to kind of think like, okay, like you're rambling on this thing way too much. Just
Mhm.
cut and move on to the next
Yeah.
thing. But it's a major balancing act between making
It
one
is. It's
content that you're
crazy.
happy with, but two stuff that because again, like yes, you make the content for yourself, but you make it for other people, man. Like if
Yeah.
no one was gonna watch it, like you wouldn't put it out there. The
Mhm.
goal is to have other people
Yeah.
enjoy it, share it, like it, and
Yeah.
things of that nature. So, um,
It it was definitely a balance, like on some of those ones that like were for people that weren't really into 3D printing,
yeah,
because I had to like show the side of stuff like the 3D printing is always cool to look at, and then people that don't, necessarily do it, they still like to watch it, but they don't
yeah,
necessarily like to watch like, I would make sure that the clips were like super short and like make sure that like, the time lapses didn't drag on and like all this stuff. Like I was
yep,
trying to make sure it was like bam, 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 quick cuts, and like jump around a lot, like to keep people's attentions, because people just like, especially even now, it's getting worse. Like
yeah,
people's attention spans are like insane. So I would try
bad,
to make sure that everything was like that retention like stayed. People just would watch the videos, like.
yeah,
So it it is crazy, man. I remember just like going through like a almost like a vetting process too, or like I would just like here Heather watch this, here my cousin watch this, like make sure that there's no typos, make sure everything's perfect. There's
yep.
if anything's dragging along, you tell me, like I'll fix it. Like I would send it through like at least like 10 people before it would actually go out.
When
So
when I changed up, so I for a long time had like this pretty basic way of I was doing it, and I tried some different things out, and I was really insecure about it, man. Like
mm,
probably to my viewers, like they wouldn't even really know that much. They're like, oh, cool, it's a little bit different. But to me, I'm like, oh
yeah,
god, like this is like foreign. I don't know. And so
mm,
I'd have Erin come in,
yeah,
and I'd be like, hey. So I just yell, hey babe, can you come in here and like put it on speaker,
yeah,
blast it. I'm like, what do you think? She's like, it's pretty good. I like it. And I was like, it's pretty
yeah,
good. Like, and I'm like, I'm like, I'm like, you hate it, But no, I
yeah,
totally can understand like wanting to get other people's opinions on it and stuff like that. Like, I feel like I'm at the point now where I just kind of like, I try to meet, like, I know what I think I like, and if that's
yeah,
not okay, then that's not okay. But I'm gonna do it, because
yeah,
at the end of the day, like,
yeah.
I'm not gonna like bend so much to where I'm not happy with what I'm doing. It just doesn't.
No,
It's
no,
not what I
dude. Yeah,
want to
yeah.
do.
That's kind of where I got to, like when I was doing all that. Like I was like spending so much time and I was like so obsessed about it and like so like this needs to be perfect and like I just couldn't keep up with it. And like and then when you start to get any like momentum and any like kind of fame, especially like after Joel put my video out there and
Yeah.
stuff, I started getting like filament and like all these printers and like all this shit. Like people are like, check this out and like do a video on it. And like, so then I'm like balancing that and like trying to do all this stuff. And I'm like terrible. I hate doing like videos where I just sit in front of the camera and talk. Like
Yeah.
it's so like not me. Like I've gotten better at it over the years
Yeah.
because I was kind of forced to do it. But like, if you watch some of those videos that I did like that, they're just like so cut up. So like, there's like, I would do it like to where it wasn't like really noticeable, but
Yeah.
like there's so many cuts and that stuff. Like I would record it for so long too.
Go back to my earliest videos, man, from 2012 or 2011, and like I've watched some, and I'm like, ooh, cringe. I just had this like one. I've changed as a person. I went from like the
Yeah.
punk kid to like an adult, and
Yeah, exactly.
and who I am has changed. But yeah, it's just funny because like even now, I feel like a lot more of my personality gets into my videos, and I notice that standing up really helps me. Like I
Yeah.
can't be contained. Like let me be
Get into
me,
it. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
but the one thing I've noticed is like in a lot of my older videos, I'm sitting there and I'm talking, and I'm like, this doesn't represent who I am. Like I'm a
Yeah.
happy, like clowny
Yeah.
person. This just seems like I'm a boring ass dude reading off of a script. Like that was always a big
Yeah.
problem in me, is how do I portray myself? Like I want this to be fun. I want this to be exciting. And so it took a very, very long time, man. And like I mean, again, it's a life process.
For
As I
sure.
grow as a
Yeah,
person
for
in
sure.
life, I take that back. But yeah, I can completely understand and also relate, because I've got a list of about 60 projects that
Hmm.
I want to do,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
I've got companies reaching out to me, and I'm like,
Uh,
well, I do need like printers, and like I can use
yeah.
printers, and
Yeah.
this is something exciting. So
Exactly.
it's a hard balancing act. Like I've talked
For
to Aaron about
sure.
this so many times, and like
Yeah.
everyone does it differently. I don't know, man. Like sometimes I'll say no, or just like say give
Yeah.
me a long lead time, so that way if that's fine with you, that's
Yeah.
fine. But
Yeah.
I've got something that I really want to do that's taking priority.
Yeah.
But I can understand that like those things can be one, very distracting, and two, if that's
Mhm.
not really your forte, then why
Yeah.
do them?
Exactly.
It's not your jam. It's
When
not your jam.
and when they send you something too, you want to be like, you want to, make sure that you're actually like checking it out and like
Yeah,
actually reviewing it and like making
totally.
sure you're like taking the time to look at this stuff. And like, when the first time I did a print review, Heather and I did it, and we were just like, this is freaking hard. Like this is a lot of work. Like
Yeah, man.
I'm like, we're putting like so much time into the printer review, and I'm like, I didn't realize it was so like crazy, and I was like, I'm like, this is not me like at all. Like, and it
Yeah.
was just crazy.
I've had to majorly streamline it, just because as of this year, like I've committed to a video every Saturday, which so far I haven't
Mm.
broken, which has been rough, man. Like there's
Yeah,
so many
dude.
weekends where Aaron's like, hey, do you want to go see my family? I was like, I can't. I got to edit. I got to do this thing. So I mean, it
Yeah.
sucks. She's super understanding,
Yeah.
because it's not like this is new. It's been 4.5 years of us
Yeah.
together
Yeah.
and being like this. But yeah, it's rough. And also, what people want to see is constantly evolving. Like recently, I got a
Mhm.
bunch of people that were saying, "Rip the thing open. We want to see the motherboard and stuff." I'm like, "Holy crap!" Like that was never something people just want to know
Uh,
how it printed before,
yeah.
And now
Yeah.
they're like, "What? All these different? Is it 12
Yeah.
volt or 24 volt? Is it open source firmware? Is the firmware available? Like,
Well, I
there's
mean,
so many things, man."
the community is so much more advanced too. Like, there's so many
Yeah,
people that know so much more, and they've spent so many years doing this now. It's like, and it's like then we're advancing into like the resin and like I've recently got more into that too.
yeah.
Like,
I've seen your
it's
Elegoo stuff lately.
yeah, dude, those printers just like amaze that it's like all exciting again, like it
Yep.
was when I first started. I
Kid
was
in a
like, this
candy
is,
store all over again, man.
yeah, dude, I'm like looking at these prints like I used to. I'm like, holy crap, how is that possible? Like,
Yeah.
and like the little tiny details. I'm like, what is happening?
No, that's awesome, man. I gotta interrupt this really quick here, because I just saw a funny comment that I can't remember what it stands for, but NLTMW
Yeah.
said, "I can't believe that Travis doesn't have the Oculus headset on." Did you recently get one?
Oh, dude, oh man, I've had an Oculus Quest for about a year now since they came out.
Dude,
Uh,
dude,
freaking amazing, dude. I love that thing.
3 hours
Oh
ago.
my
3 hours
gosh,
ago.
yes,
I went out on my lunch
yes,
today
dude.
and said, "Honey, I'm treating myself
Yes,
to a toy. I just got it." And she
dude.
doesn't play video games, but she was Beat Sabering it up in the living room like a minute ago. She was loving it,
Dude,
man.
I try to freaking convince so many people to get those. They're so amazing,
They're
dude.
amazing, dude.
You can use it anywhere. You can hook it up to your PC and do the
Yep.
freaking
Virtual
all this
desktop is
modeling
what I've
and
got
like
right
oh
now. Yeah,
god,
yeah.
yeah, virtual desktop,
That's
wireless, like
awesome, man.
freaking yeah, dude, it's
That's
freaking
so funny
amazing.
because I was gonna ask you because I was so hyped and I was like, I know Travis really likes video games. I'm curious as to whether he's tried it out. And then I saw
Oh,
that in the
dude, I've
chat and I was
been
like,
all
what are
up
the
on
odds,
VR.
man?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'll have to outside of the stream. I'll be asking you for some suggestions because
Oh yeah, dude,
I've
I
been
have so
YouTubing
much.
it and like foruming
I
it,
have
but
so much information for
awesome,
you. It's
man.
not even funny, dude.
Awesome, man. Yeah, that's a very exciting new venture for me, and I've got some 3D printing like printed out like gun props and stuff for it. For,
Uh-huh.
like so,
Yeah,
yeah,
there's so many
I'm hyped,
accessories and
man.
stuff that you
Yeah.
can print out for it. Like I have like the battery pack ones where you can hook
Yeah,
it on so you
for
can
the
play for like
extended.
longer.
Yep.
Yeah.
I saw like the Anchor battery pack. There was a model available for that one on the headset. Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Mike, yeah, NLTFW. He's saying I peer pressured him into getting one because I did. I was like, you need this is freaking awesome because he was asking me about VR stuff and yeah,
One
that's
of
what I
oh,
always
good.
suggest the Quest just because it's so versatile, you know.
Well, for me, it was a couple things. One, it was price majorly,
Yeah, yeah,
honestly. Like, I had
yeah.
a hard
The
time
price is
justifying it.
awesome too. Yeah.
Two, it was what, like, one of my coworkers had showed me it. And for being as, like, I keep looking up. I'm not looking at anything. I don't know why I'm looking up. For being as, like, much of a techie, geeky dude as I am, I had
Yeah.
never tried out VR. And then one of my coworkers a year ago was like, he got the Quest on launch and was like, hey, man, you got to try this thing out. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. I've seen it on YouTube. He's like, no, man, come into the dev office, put this thing on your lunch. And I was like, okay, all right, I'll do it. And all he took me through was the setup where I was in space with a ping pong ball and a
Yeah.
paddle, and I was like, dude, I'm
Exactly,
just
and you're
sitting
like,
there
"Holy
smiling
shit, this
ear
is
to
amazing!"
ear, dude. Yeah. So and then it was always like if I could convince myself that I can somehow use this for the channel, or if I can use this in a productive way, then I'm sold. And seeing how today, I actually spoke with a customer that was talking about Gravity Sketch is what he was talking about.
Yeah,
And
Gravity
so
Sketch, yeah.
I started looking it up and was like, all right, man, I'm gonna figure out how to do some like basic 3D modeling with this thing. Like, and then it was like, where can I buy this right now? Micro Center has it in stock. All right, I'll be there in 10 minutes. So yeah, it was a very spontaneous, but I'd looked at it over the last year a bit and was just waiting for the right time to jump on it. And I figured we're all stuck inside. Might as well get even more inside,
dude.
you know?
Oh, dude, man, I'll be messaging you after this with all
Yeah.
kinds of stuff. Freaking
Awesome,
Gravity
man.
Sketch, tilt brush, medium. Medium is like pretty freaking amazing. It's almost like ZBrush in freaking VR. Like, dude,
Wow.
just like pulling clay and like,
Yeah.
dude, it's so awesome.
I'm seriously, it's like a whole new kind of how you mentioned the resin thing. I feel like with this technology, just like again, I had it on and I was literally just playing Beat Saber demo, dude. I'm just smiling.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, these sabers are sick.
Yeah.
Like it's so
Dude,
awesome, man.
I use Beat Saber for fitness now. I'm literally like burning like 400 or 500 calories a day, just like freaking doing like crazy. I'm like really good at Beat Saber.
Yeah.
Man. Like,
That's awesome. Maybe I'll have to. I'll get my 1 year of practice, and then when COVID's all said and done, we'll have to meet up and have a Beat Saber contest or something, man.
have you seen like they even have like there's do you know about SideQuest?
Yeah, it's like
Freaking
side loading
side load
apps or
stuff,
something.
okay.
Yeah.
There's one called I forget what it's called. It's called some laser tag game, but you can basically play it with like multiple, like up to 10 quests. So it puts you in a virtual arena.
Yeah.
And so you can run around a virtual arena and like literally dodge around walls and shoot at your friends and stuff within the same space. It's freaking crazy.
So awesome, man. Yeah, I'm really excited to do some more testing out. Like as soon as I get off, I'm gonna be moving some stuff, but I'm going to the new place. Aaron's got school tonight. I'm gonna set up a huge ring for myself and just do some questing, man. But
I've definitely wanted to get into some VR videos and stuff like that. I feel like it'd be really cool. Like they have
really
a lot of
like to watch it. I know that Make Anything, Devin's done a couple of sculpts, like, and I really like watching that. So yeah, if you did that, I would certainly be all about checking those out and just seeing either tutorials or just showcase stuff where you like time lapse yourself, speed art stuff or whatever.
Well, and there's like a lot of mixed reality stuff where you can like film yourself actually like showing inside the virtual world and stuff like that. Stuff just like interests the hell out of me. It's like that's like kind of where I would want to go if I got back into like doing videos and stuff, like more stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, again, I will say that with the whole content creation thing too, like I started off as a video game hacking modding channel. Like 3D printing, there was nothing about it. I had no desire like to do anything 3D printing, and I did 4 years pretty much of heavy, mostly Xbox 360 hacking, like JTAGs and like repairs, reflowing them, like all sorts of stuff. And I got so burnt out, man. Like it got to a point where I just felt like I was doing it because that's what my audience wanted. And so that's when I got into more retro stuff on my channel, and I wanted to make a portable N64, and that's when I found 3D printing. One of my buddy's roommates was a videographer that was making custom gimbal gear that was way cheaper than buying it himself. And so that's how I first got it. But, you know, I transitioned over from that modding hacking stuff to 3D printing, and some audience stayed, some didn't, but I'm way happier. 3D printing to me, like, and again, I plan on using it as a medium for other projects, not just only 3D printing. But to me, it's a much broader spectrum of things that you can do with 3D printing. So that's what I really like about it still. So.
Yeah, and that's what I like. For instance, like with like the spinners and stuff, I started incorporating I just would use 3D printers as like a tool to like make the spinner top that would snap on to the spinner, so I wouldn't have to. Yeah, exactly. Well, the caps, and then like recently, have you seen any of my stuff on TikTok?
Yeah, well, I've seen the ones you posted on Twitter, and then I looked today as well. I was actually, that's one of my questions on here out of the many questions that I wrote down. I always write down a list. I'm like, just in case like there's like a moment of like quietness, I'll go ask a question. But I still like some of these questions. I actually still like absolutely will not let you off here without asking, because I'm just curious about some of these things. But yeah, so I've seen some of the videos, like they're insane as far as. Again, one of the questions here was, how did you discover that you could do something like that with them? But yeah, I haven't seen printed parts. The one I saw was like you had 5 pieces of pressed things, aluminum on the outside, steel on the inside. That was the one I saw, and you were like gluing them together.
Those were the original ones that I used to make, and those were like really hard to make because I had to laser cut them out of steel. So yeah. The newer ones. Okay, I'll just go back into how I started making them and why.
Yeah.
Okay, so back when the spinner craze was going on, 2017 or whatever, I was making spinners, and I just like started. Everybody was making spinners.
I was too,
like,
on eBay.
This is my kind of spinner.
Yep.
So I started making spinners, and because I had access to the laser cutter and like the printing and stuff like that, I could print on metal, and I was like, oh, I could print logos and people's like random cool stuff on there. And so I started doing that, and I I gave those out at Maker Faire and stuff like that to like all the YouTubers, and like I was filming them I think it was at Bay Area Maker Faire in like 2017 or whatever. I was filming them like to put in my video with like walking around and just exploring Maker Faire. And I was looking at them, and I was like, I wonder, like, this looks kind of animated, like when I'm filming this, because they get that warp look.
Yeah, the crazy effect.
Yeah, and I was filming. I think this one that said that was Garrett's. That said Chaos Cortec, and like Garrett kind of ties into this too, because I was talking to him it was the year that he came alone, and I was talking to him about it, like in filming it, and we were talking back and forth. I was like, I could probably put an animation on this, and we were talking. He's like, you should put Mario on this, and then like I was like, oh yeah, Mario running, and like I did that, and that video freaking like I wasn't expecting anything. I was like, I went outside, and like literally, if you watch that first video, that is my exact reaction of the very first time I did that, because I did not expect it to work, and it just like blew me the fuck away.
It's like magic, dude. I saw it. I was tripping out, dude. Like I was like, what? Like this? I was like, Travis has definitely sold his soul. There's no way this is not black magic.
Well, and that's how we were talking earlier about like you never know what the thing is gonna be like that goes whatever, and like that thing freaking blew the fuck up. Like it went everywhere, dude. Like that's all like for a minute that I was like known for. I was like all these spinners, and then because it was on freaking Gizmodo and like all these tech websites and just like pretty much everywhere for the Mario one, and it was everybody's like do Sonic. So I did Sonic. And then I did like a couple gear ones and stuff, and then the spinner craze started to die off, you know? And so I like just shelved it for years. I was like, up until like I think it was January this year, I put some of my old videos, like I had been messing around with TikTok, and I had put some of my the Sonic video and stuff like that on TikTok, and like these old videos just started taking off again. Everyone's like, "Holy crap, what is this? Why is this happening? Like, where can I get this? Like all this stuff." So then I was like, oh, I could make these way easier now. So I designed like a 3D printed top that fits on top of like a regular, the old 3-prong Ghetto fidget
Yeah.
spinners that they have everywhere. And I just bought some off. I actually went to a flea market and bought. They still had some random ones there, and I just started fitting. And I made this topper that fit on it. And then now that we have the UV printer, I just like started laser cutting some like this polystyrene stuff that we have, and just printing right on there. So I could make these like super fast. I didn't have to like build them out of metal and do all this crazy things with bearings and stuff. So it just, and I just kept making them. My channel just went like this. I'm like at like 90,000 freaking followers on TikTok.
Insane,
it's crazy.
dude.
Yeah, and
how do you adhere the printed sheets? Do you just gluing them to the plastic, like to the
yeah, because I mean it's just, it's 3D printed plastic against like basically a plastic sheet, so it sticks.
It bonds really well. Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, and it's just sized exactly the same, and I just snap it on so I can switch them out like those. I don't know how well you can see that, but there's a crap ton of all the different ones that I've done up there.
Yeah, I see. I could see like basically it just looks like a bunch of colorful discs.
Here, let me. I have on my laptop. I can go mobile. Cool. Yeah, so these are like.
Oh, that's rad. Yeah.
Yeah, all the different freaking. I just kept doing them and kept like making these things.
Oh, dude, you got the Nyan cat, right?
Yeah. And the awesome part about it was that the videos were so easy to do, because you're on TikTok, you're just like, hey, let me go.
They're really quick, right?
Video. Yeah, exactly. I could film a 30-second or 60-second video and be done and like have a video. And I think ultimately that's how you kind of like have to be with stuff like when you're trying to grow anything, is you have to like be able to like have something that you can post frequently.
Yeah.
Because people I think that's why TikTok is so popular, because it's just short little videos that people can scroll through real fast. They're like, oh, this is awesome. I'm like, that's how our world is now.
It's great for that attention span. It's great for that attention span we talked about,
Exactly.
It's such a short attention span. You don't have to watch a 5-minute production. You can watch a 30-second one, laugh at it, then move on or share it. It's really easy to share,
Exactly.
Yeah, I still haven't downloaded TikTok, man. I feel like an old man. I'm just kind of like, I don't want new social media. It's all, but like I like watching some of the dance ones. They're hilarious, dude. And like, there's just some good ones. Like, I don't mind watching it, but I'm like, I don't know, man. But yeah, that's insane. Like I remember when you'd posted my dog. I think someone's at the door. I was expecting UPS package. Dude, this is live streaming live, baby. Audio doesn't work correctly. Dog's barking, man. Like, geez.
Keeps dipping out.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let me move on to the next question I had was, when it comes to the different things that you've made, which one out of, well, it doesn't have to be your logos to life necessarily, but out of the things you've made, which one's like your favorite? I mean, like personally, and like I know this one wasn't probably very difficult, but I love the N64, man. Like it was my first console ever. It was such a clean looking, like just everything about it, man. I love that one. I mean, I liked the Assassin's Creed one you did was absolutely badass too. It turned out super clean, but I'm just curious, as like the creator, which one are you the most proud of? Is it one of the OG original ones? Is it the Boogie one? Like which one is it?
I mean, most proud of, it's kind of hard. Like I love like each and every one. I remember I've talked about this before. It's like each one has like kind of like a story, because they were such long times in my life, and each one, like every time I think back to each different like logo I did, because like those videos were so long and it was just like months, like I just remember like specific memories of like things that happened during that time, and like it actually makes my memory kind of clearer of like my life, because I was like, I remember like doing those things and like Sandy and like doing all this crazy stuff, and then like stuff that would happen afterwards, because it was like it's like so vivid in my mind. It's crazy. So I have like a lot of like very fond memories of all that time and like doing all that stuff. I have to say like the one I'm probably most proud of like is probably the Boogie Shield, just because I felt like it came together the best, and it like I feel like it's had the most life. Like Boogie's like was really cool with that. He's had that in the back of his videos for like freaking 4 years now. Ever since I gave it to him, he's had it just sitting back. Every video that you watch on Boogie's for like the last like 3 or 4 years, that shield is sitting there, and like every time I watch this video, I'm like, that's fucking awesome.
Like, that's definitely a huge like pat on the back. You're like, I did good on that one.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, there's been some other people that have put them in their videos like a ton. They've like showed them later, and like reckless eating, like we'll still put them like in some of their videos, like where they're just like sitting there chatting, like sitting right there in the front. It's like, it's just like cool to see that stuff.
Yeah.
And I kind of got to the point when I was doing that stuff, I was like, oh, this is amazing for these creators to do that, like to put it in their videos and just like have it there, because it's like it's just weird, like it's a crazy feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's like, I think that's probably it. I'm like trying to.
Yeah. I feel like with a lot of them, the cool thing is about one, the amount of time that puts like, so it's almost like you create this, like, this is a weird like way to describe it. It's almost like you create this like little life form, you know, and like you're putting all the pieces together, and then it's born officially, and then it takes on a whole separate life. Like it travels.
Yeah.
I saw that you did one for her name's slipping my mind, but her logo's a robot. I think she lives in Australia potentially.
Oh yeah, Sparky Face.
Yeah. Like I mean, like that's in, you know, it's a whole other part of the world. Like it's just so cool, like where these things end up. And I mean, I'm sure that some of them are probably a bit bittersweet to part with, especially with how much time you put into them, right?
Oh
like,
man, yeah,
like a tear, you know.
Yes. There was times where like I would like get that thing done and it would just be sitting there, and I would like, there was that special moment where it was like done and it was just like sitting on the table, and I'm taking pictures of it and I'm like doing like my little final videos and all that stuff, and I would just be like, okay, this is my time with this. I will never see this thing again.
Yeah.
Like, because then pretty much I have to pack it up and then like start the video and like send it off to the person or whatever. And like some of those I would worry like crazy. I'm like, oh my god, is this gonna, because you know,
damage, man.
Boogie's like, you know, halfway across the country, and I'm like, this thing has to be packed well. This thing has to, if this thing gets jacked and shipping, this whole friggin' my months of work are gone. And that's the whole thing, is like all this stress like built up to me not doing this anymore, dude.
Yeah, no.
Like,
I mean, I've seen get damaged in shipping, which I would think is something that's indestructible. I could only imagine like the level of thought that has to go into the foam or the bubble wrap, that in the you know, I feel like you'd go to the store, get the biggest wrap that they have, just to shove it in the middle and then box it, basically. You know, I mean, plastic printed parts do not crush well. You know, like if weight comes down and hits them, they typically do not hold their own. So yeah, you need a lot of cushion.
Oh, sorry, I'm gonna cut you off.
No, you're good.
That leads to one of my biggest failures, like with one of my logos, is the Dame Drop shield that I made. That shield that I took to VidCon, and I gave the big. Did you see the red and silver?
You flipped it over shield and showed that it had like the hold for the arm and the shield on it.
Yeah. So I made that, and I took that to VidCon to give to him. That was the first time I met him. Like I always tried to make an impression when I met people. I was like, this is me. This is what I'm doing. Here's a badass shield for you. Because I had talked to him before that, and like I had sent him. I did a logo for Dame Drops, like the original one with his like his logo with his name and the burger and stuff like that. And then I had taken that shield to him and I gave it to him, and he walked around with it. VidCon, it was freaking amazing. Like I hung out with him. You know, I met all kinds of people. That's when I met Boogie the first time, like all this stuff. And then he couldn't take it home with him because he couldn't take it on the plane.
Oh yeah.
So, and I've told this story before. I don't know if you know this one, but
nope.
Yeah. So I had to bring it home, and I was going to ship it to him. And this is June. This is 100 and freaking 500. You know, from LA to where I'm at.
I'm sweating my ass off right now, bro.
Exactly,
I'm
dude.
beating my head, man.
Yeah. So I had put it in the trunk. Like I was like, oh, it'll be safe in here for a minute. And we went in to eat something, and I like didn't think about like how long we were in there, and like it just sat in the sun. Dude, that thing, I still have it here. It's just like warped to hell because I never gave it to him. I never sent it to him because it got completely ruined. Like I still keep it as my like fucking I don't even know why. I should just get rid of it.
I would, dude, if it were me, I would have gotten a sledgehammer and just destroyed it. You know, like release your frustration, just destroy it. But I mean, at least I will say he did get the clip of it initially in the hotel room. The thought was there. You did the work. It still looked amazing.
When he walked around with it and he got to like have it and like, it was awesome. Like that part was really good. And that's one of those projects that I have. Like you said, you have like a bunch of projects that are like you want to do or just like sitting around. That's one of those half projects. I had G-Create. They have like that big giant freaking crazy printer that can print like a skateboard or whatever.
Yeah.
I had them print the two halves of the shield again because I was going to redo it for them.
Sick.
And I still have that. That was probably like 2 years ago when I stopped doing freaking videos. That's one of those projects that I really want to do. Like as here's like, my thing that, because I still talk to him once in a while, and he's still a freaking cool ass dude. I like, to watch his videos still. And he led me to so many different places. Like I said, like even the relationship I have with healthy junk food, that stemmed from him too. Like those are like some of my best friends, like Julia and JP from Healthy Junk Food. They're freaking amazing. They're like freaking crazy ass YouTubers, and like they've had me do so many projects with them. I've like done like probably I think more videos with them than any other YouTuber. Awesome. I've done just stuff where they would like have me make stuff for them, like for the Sour Patch Kid and like the ring pops, all that stuff. They just would have me mix them. They would pay me to do it, and they would shout me out, and like they're freaking just like really cool people.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Let's see. I'm not gonna get through all these. There's no way in hell. Okay, all right, I got one. So I know that you just said that you went to school, we're doing some 3D modeling, but when it comes to your background with working with lasers and stuff like that, I know that you've got a massive CO2 laser. I know that you play around with, it looks like a fiber laser at work, and you've also got this insane full color thing that prints on everything that makes no sense that you've showed. So how did you get into the lasers? That is something I'm curious about.
Okay. This is another weird thing in my life, dude. So I feel like some of this stuff just happens by chance to me, and like I'm kind of a lucky person in general. Like I have an amazing wife. I have like all this random stuff that happened with Cinemassacre, and like how I feel like I didn't do any of that. Like the way I got into lasers is another story like that, where my cousin, he's a plumber, and he literally went to this guy's house, some rich dude out in Granite Bay, which is like a really crazy neighborhood around here. Like all the freaking, there's been celebrities that lived out there, Kings players and stuff. So he went out to his house to fix a sink problem, and this guy has a shop in the back of his house. He has like a huge freaking 4,000 square foot shop back there that he's like making all these signs and like these metal, like reproduction metal signs and stuff. And like my cousin's like, oh, you gotta meet, he's talking about me. He's like, you gotta meet Travis. Like, so I went out, I'm like, I didn't think of anything of it because like people said that stuff all the time. Like I would get like random, like, especially cause I had already started doing the logos and stuff by then. So I went out there to meet this guy, and I was like, what the hell, like his gated property, like this huge house, like, so I go, to his shop, and I'm like, oh, blown away by like all the stuff he has. His like, sublimation presses, and like, it was actually way smaller then, cause he did have like a lot of stuff, but he wasn't doing his own laser cutting. He wasn't doing like, any of that stuff but he was doing sublimation. He was doing all these signs, and like he had stuff like laser cut off site and all that stuff. So I started working there like almost immediately. He wanted to hire me like crazy because I showed him some of my stuff that I had done, the 3D stuff and like all the random stuff that I did. Mm-hmm. And I started working there, and like from there it kind of just blossomed. Like he's like, I kind of like helped him build the business like in a way like he didn't like know anything about networking and like all this stuff. Like so I freaking hooked everything up. Like he was running around with flash drives, like each computer, putting files on each.
Like, when you said networking, I thought you meant like marketing networking.
No.
You meant actual like
actual networking. Yeah, because I was a technician before.
Gotcha.
I'm old, man. I'm almost 40, so I've been doing stuff for a long time. Anyways, yeah, I started networking for him. I started doing artwork for him. I started doing all this stuff. And he's like, I think we should get our own laser cutter. I think we should, get into that because I think you could run it. And I was like, hell yeah, I can run it. I mean, I've never run a laser cutter in my life, but like I had done all this shit before, so I'm like, so yeah, exactly. So he got the laser cutter. He spent like freaking 20 grand on it because this dude has hell of money.
Yeah.
And we just got into laser cutting, and I'm like, oh, this is awesome. I can cut out all these signs and like do all this stuff. So I started incorporating that into my logos and stuff at that point. And then that laser, we bought it. It was like 150 watt CO2 laser. We were cutting metal with this thing, and it wasn't like really powered for that. And so we'd get all kinds of slag on the metal, and like we would have to clean it all crazy up. So he's like, oh, we're gonna get a better laser. So he bought this fiber laser from this company, this Chinese, like it's a Chinese company, but it's based out of Florida.
Okay.
So he bought the fiber laser from there, and they came out. We did training. I learned how to use that thing. and that thing's freaking amazing. Like that, I spent years just like cutting stuff out on that. Like I was running that thing and like tweaking it and tuning it, and like doing all this stuff, trying to figure out how that thing worked.
Yeah.
And I started incorporating that into my stuff. And the company that we bought that laser from really liked what I was doing, and I, because I was putting out videos, and like they saw that stuff,
it's
and
promotion for them as well. Like whether it's meant to be or not, their logo, their machine is in it. So
exactly, and I put out a like even just like a install video, like a unboxing almost of the giant fiber laser.
I saw that. No, I didn't see the fiber one. I saw the CO2 one. Never mind. Yeah, I saw the CO2.
Yeah. So the fiber that'll lead to that. So the fiber one, actually, I put out that video. Like I still get comments on that. People like, so I basically, would talk to random people about these lasers, and like they started like, I was basically like, I love the freaking laser, so I wasn't lying to people. I was like, this thing's freaking amazing. Like, I was like shouting it out to the rooftops, because it just like from the laser that we had to that laser, like
game changer,
clean cuts, like everything's like super fast, and like we still use that laser. Like that was, I don't even remember how many years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago. But then, okay, they liked it so much, they're like, oh, I want to send you a laser. Like, so they sent me an actual freaking 150 watt CO2 laser, and I have it in my garage.
So
and like,
sick.
That's how I got into that. Like, again, so random, like, just like not even on purpose, just like I got in the right place in the right time, and I just,
That's
awesome.
Weird,
my life's been like that.
It's really cool hearing stories like that, just because like, for myself, like with 3D printing stuff and working in 3D printing, like I've got no background in this stuff, man. I was like a nerdy gamer dude. I always liked technology. I liked figuring out how to upgrade and take things apart, make them my own. And, it just things kind of fell into place. I mean, the thing is though, like you also put yourself out there, like, and I will say completely, like, I know that, like, well, I guess when we were talking about YouTube stuff, that is part of Maker's Minute because you're making content. But when it comes to the YouTube stuff, like, it's been a really good platform to showcase myself. Like, just, this is me, man. Like, these are some of the things that I do. I've got, like some video editing skills, some creativity skills, some, these knowledges. So like, it's a really awesome way to put yourself out there. And again, like you said, like you started doing your Legos to life, and then super random that you said it was your cousin, right? That was, that's awesome.
It was like a plumbing issue that led me into that. Like a little, and it was funny too, because it was like, some contractor that had helped build something at his house had like dropped a piece of wood or something that got caught in the pipe or something, and like that's what was causing the backup. So so a piece of wood like literally changed my life. Like I always put that back, like on getting all these lasers and doing all this crap. Like with that, like it's just so weird. It's like how stuff works out like that.
I always tell one of my buddies, who's my best friend, that I met him through a job that I was working for a furniture company, and I was doing some e-commerce stuff, and he was showing me how to do some of the deliveries. Like, he didn't work for the company. He just basically was a friend of the guy, so they contracted him for the day he'd done deliveries before. He was like, hey, I'll show you.
Yeah.
So we went on a drive all the way to San Diego and back, which with traffic was like a 8-hour drive. It was brutal. Yeah. And by the end of the drive, me and this guy were best friends. Like, we were like, dude, like, we talked music, we talked video games. Like, it was sick. And because of him, I met his roommate, and his roommate was the videographer that got the 3D printer. And that's what got me into 3D printing. So I'm like, dude, right van, right time, baby. Like, it's something so random. And like, granted, I get like there really is other things around it, like my my passion for technology and stuff. Like, but still, like it's a lot of just keeping your eyes open for opportunities, man. Opportunities come from strange places. That's
it's super weird, man.
It's super weird, man. But that's awesome because I always wondered. I was like, dude, this guy's working with the craziest. Okay, and then so one more thing regarding the lasers is, you got to explain to me, how in the hell does that full color printer on everything work? What is that, dude? Is there cartridges it's shooting onto stuff? Like, I don't get it, man.
So basically, think of it as like a giant ink head, like on a freaking axis, like it's moving back and forth, with giant freaking stepper motors or whatever. And if you look under it, you can see it looks almost like a freaking, just like an ink head, like that's on like an inkjet printer. Like you open up your freaking regular HP or whatever at home, but the freaking each head is like this big,
Monster,
it's like and basically what it's doing is it's spraying down the ink, almost like just an inkjet printer would do, like onto paper. It's spraying that down, but it's flying like across like the thing, and it can be up to like 2 millimeters away, I think, from whatever surface you're printing it on. So you can print pretty much on anything, wood, freaking plastic, metal.
It's insane. I remember when you first started showing off like the Zelda phone case or
Yeah.
whatever, and then you
Yeah.
did the. I know it didn't stick, I don't think, for very long, but you did the Pyro design on the
Yeah,
glass. I was like, what
yeah.
the heck, dude? Like, I was like, another witchcraft, Travis, dude. Like, what the heck?
Yeah, it's crazy because it like as the head goes across the UV lights, it's almost like in a sense how resin is. It's like a resin ink almost, and the UV lights cure it as it goes across.
That's insane.
So it's nuts. Like it kind of stinks, but like that's probably another, like I tell you, like all these things I've
You're
been around.
breathing
Like
in, man.
yeah, it's terrible. I should be
Jesus.
wearing a mask. Like, and when I was laser cutting, I honestly did. Like,
Yeah.
when I was doing all that metal cutting stuff, because that was
Sure.
like such fine metal dust and
Yep.
stuff. I would wear a freaking respirator all the time.
Yep.
But like with the UV ink and stuff, I'm not around it that much. Like I go switch stuff out and like I let it settle and stuff, but it's still bad, you know.
If you grow a third arm, we'll know why. You know.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Does it? So one other question I have about it is, so does it auto align itself as far as the distance, or do you have to manually set it or jog it to be like the correct height distance away from the material you're working with?
It does have like a little auto sensor, but it's really hard. Like I usually just like will like get down and look and see where it is and just align it. For the most part, like all the signs that we print and stuff on that thing,
Same
like
thickness,
90%
pretty much,
of the
right?
time, same thickness. We never adjust the height. I just adjust it for like wood or whatever, and it's really easy to do. You just like go up and like, because like some of like even like the wood signs that we print, they're like made with like planks of wood and stuff, so it's like variable, like where
Gotcha.
the, you know.
Yeah.
So I just like go to like the highest point on it. I'm like, okay, this is good. And it honestly, like they say 2 millimeters, but like I've gotten further away from there, and it will start to blur as you get further away. But like honestly,
Still
like on a
pretty
piece
good.
of wood or something, it looks freaking awesome
Yeah.
still, like because there's all the grain and everything and like that. And you can print white too, like, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
So like on certain things you can, I did that a lot on like some of the metal rep box panels that I was doing.
Yeah.
I would print like a white layer under some stuff to make it pop out and like leave like the color just like to where the metal was showing through and stuff like that. Yeah, so that printer is pretty freaking awesome.
Yeah, dude, that's definitely one thing where I like. Oh, one of the few. Like every time I've seen you post a video of the fiber laser ripping through things, I'm just like,
Yeah.
dude, I've had access to a lot of really cool printers, but lasers are one thing where I'm just like,
Yeah.
oh, I was talking to Ryan in the last stream from V1 Engineering about like CNCing and the different mediums. I really like incorporating all the different mediums into things like wood and metals and plastics and stuff like that, and like just the ability to tear through aluminum is just such a badass thing to have at your
Dude, you're not that far away, man. You could come down anytime and check that stuff out if you want.
How far are you from where I'm at? I mean, I'm in like Orange County, like 5-6 hours or no?
When I used to drive like to the Matter Hackers meetups from where I'm at, it would take like 7-8 hours.
Okay.
It's a decent trek, you know.
Yeah.
But
I might be able to do a dual trip type thing because we went up to the Winchester house for Erin's birthday last year, and so she's been really wanting to go back towards that way. So maybe I can plan it where I do a win-win where the lady's happy and I'm also happy. So that'd be really cool, man. So I would definitely love to take a look around your shop and your goodies and just...
Yeah, and we actually moved. We recently just moved from back behind my boss's house, like in that big shop. We moved to actually a commercial building now, so it's easier to like come into and like, yeah.
Nice, that's awesome. I've got how long? Oh my god, it's already been an hour. I got like a couple more questions I want to ask. Is that cool, man? Are you good?
Dude, I'm good.
Okay, all right, brother. All right, so let's see. Okay, so. You already answered that, actually. So would you say that out of all the printers you've had, though, still to this date, your favorite one is the Ultimaker? That's your baby? That's your workhorse?
Yeah, I mean, definitely in reliability. I love that thing. Like every other printer I've had, like has broken down more. Granted, I've had some of the ones that we shouldn't mention. Like, that everybody had problems with, but I don't like to bash companies. But
sure, it rhymes with hobo.
Yeah, exactly. But that printer's just gone freaking like crazy, and like I just recently got into resin, so like
Oh yeah,
I'm
yeah.
really loving the Mars. Like I had the Moai for a long time, but that machine is so like much more complicated than
Yep.
like what the LCDs or whatever.
Dude, the Galvo
Um,
system was always like, because we have them, at work, and they're awesome.
yeah,
Don't get me wrong. Like, I think they're awesome, and
yeah,
they're also compatible with a lot of other resins that are based for that type of,
exactly. Yeah, yeah,
which is sick.
yeah.
But just yeah, all of the moving parts in comparison to just one
Hmm.
stepper motor that just dips and goes up and dips. It's such a simple and like beautiful
Hmm.
process, man.
Hmm.
You know.
Yeah, exactly. Those are freaking awesome. Like, yeah, I feel like I didn't really get more into resin printing until I got that, and that was, that this recent. Like, because I always had like trouble with like my Moai. Like, it would print like really nice in the beginning. Like, again, I'm not trying to like
Yeah.
bash them or
Sure. No.
anything.
No.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
it was awesome for what it did, but it's like just so and granted, it's older technology by now
Yep.
too. I mean, that thing's been out for how many years now?
A couple years
Um,
now. I think over two at least.
yeah, and they've
Yeah.
moved on to even like the LCD
LCD.
stuff and all
Yeah.
that. So yeah,
It's the
and
way
it's
it's all
just
going, man. It's the way it's all
yeah,
going.
it's just so much easier and so much easier to deal with and like all that stuff. So
Do you feel one of the questions I had on here was actually regarding resin? Is that do you feel like if you were to make a comeback or do an occasional Logos to Life type episode that you would incorporate resin in this sense, if you could?
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
for sure,
Yeah.
yes. And I will tell you that I am working on something, but
Cool.
it's too early to
Yeah.
say
Don't
something.
don't.
But
Yeah. Yeah. That's
like
exciting in itself.
hopefully it could be pretty nice. Like, and
Awesome.
I feel like I'm switching over to where like I don't want to get to that point where like I do something and then it gets into like that snowball effect where it's like too crazy.
It's called the
Like
grind, baby. It's
yeah, the kind
the
of stuff I'm
grind.
doing, I'm
Uh-huh.
trying to do for passion. Like I
Cool.
really like almost like when I started out, like I did that original project for like somebody that I really admire and I really like to watch. And like, so this is, the thing I'm working on is something I really have been enjoying and I really like. And I could talk to you about it like
Yeah.
after or
Yeah.
whatever, but I don't want to like spread
Totally.
anything around right.
Yeah, I mean, most people, I feel like, and it's cool again that like you just got into videos to make videos because like when I got into it, like YouTube has never the goal of YouTube has never been in my head like must make money through YouTube, like that's it.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
if I wanted
yeah,
to go out and like find a lucrative way to make money,
yeah,
like it wouldn't be YouTube. I'll tell you that right
yeah.
now. I started making videos because like when I got my original Xbox and I wanted to learn how to hack it or repair it,
Yeah.
I couldn't figure out how to do it. I broke a few. I was going through forums and like finally figured it out and was like, let me show some people what worked for me. So that way there's at least a video I know works out there. And then it was the feedback. It was like, dude, this was really
Yeah.
helpful. Thanks. And so
Mm.
then I got bit. To me, like all the other stuff that comes along with it is just, it's like perks, man. It allows me to keep
Exactly.
doing the hobby
Yeah.
and spend more time
Yeah.
doing it and justify it
Yeah.
to the lady. I'm like, come on, baby. It's,
Yeah, yeah.
but
You
anyways,
just
yeah,
can't let it get out of control. That's
totally.
the thing. Like I let it get out of control for too long. Either Heather's nodding her head right now.
Yeah.
She's like, yes, I remember that. That was terrible.
Yeah, it's definitely I've had moments, man, where like it's definitely I've had to step back, and I mean if you look, I think it was back. It's been a lot of years since it's been a huge break, but there was one point like 2013 where I went MIA for like 10 months, didn't make a video, just
Mm-hmm.
not on social media. I was like, I just want to be alone for a while. I just want to like figure out my life, figure out what I'm doing
Yeah.
next. Like this was awesome, but I don't want to make a video every single day or every other day like I was doing. So no, I can totally get it, but I know that again, like your fans or true fans and definitely all your friends and things like that and myself certainly will be stoked whenever you do come out with something, whether it's 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, whatever.
Yeah,
It's just nice to see some content, man. Like I got so used to seeing like a weekly stream and then all of a sudden I didn't, and I got I was so used to things. I'm like,
Yeah.
where the hell is Travis at? And then
Yeah.
seeing you pop into one of my streams, I was like, he's alive, like yay. I mean,
Yeah.
I think the last time I saw you was at Bay Area last year. That was the last time that I saw you. Yeah.
It was at that bar, right? Like when we were like
Yeah.
the piano thing. Yeah.
Crazy Horse. Does that sound right? It was like the rooftop bar or whatever. I
Yeah,
can't think of what it's
dueling
called.
pianos and
Yeah,
like-
yeah. Crazy Horse is probably not even close to right, but okay. So that was my resume question. God, man, I'm gonna go through like one or two more, then I'm gonna get towards the end here, just because. But one of my questions was with regards to the Master Sword, which I love the swords that you made. They're beautiful. The detailing that from the heat transfer is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
So that was one of my questions is, what the hell exactly is that? It looks like you're printing it in almost a normal oversized printer and then just using a hot press. What is that stuff, man?
But it's basically it's just called sublimation. I don't know if you've heard of that before. It's basically it prints a type of ink that you can print onto, like it's heat paper basically.
Gotcha.
And once you have it printed out, you gotta let it dry a little bit, because or else it can get funky. But
Yeah.
then you just press it in the 400-degree press, and it basically it turns the ink into, like, the heat turns the ink into a gas, and it soaks into. We're not printing directly on metal. Like the laser cuts go from being cut out to a powder coating process.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it gets powder coated with like a white powder coat, and then like a clear coat over that, and that's what the ink kind of absorbs
Sticks
into,
onto
is the
your.
clear coat. Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah, it actually, like, it's weird because it, like, it's not like a peeling thing. It's not like it, like, actually, like, will transfer into the powder coat.
Because
Like,
it's
it's like,
gas, because
yeah,
it's not
yeah,
a solid, it becomes a gas. That's insane.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's always because, like, when you show those off, like, dude, the colors are so vivid. It's really insane, like, how well it transfers the
yeah,
color onto this thing, and I'm like, that's super cool. Like, you definitely got your hands on quite a few goodies. Where I'm just like goals, man. Like, even just to like
yeah.
be able to see one. I don't know, man. Like, I've been
Yeah.
trying to branch out, and I've like played around a little bit with my little, like, eBay CO2 laser, which I haven't gotten nearly. I will say that I don't think CO2 lasers belong in a bedroom, because I've gotten
Oh
very,
God, no, dude.
yeah, this is not
The fumes from that, you
yeah.
gotta, like, freaking vent that stuff
Yeah,
outside,
I've
man.
got like a
So
pretty
bad.
gnarly inline fan that's supposed to be pulling a lot of it through the hose out the
Yeah,
window, but like,
yeah,
I'm putting it at my parents' house tomorrow, because we're downsizing over the weekend to just a smaller
yeah,
place to help us save for a bit, and I'm okay with that, because as much as I really want to use it and I'm sad, I'll be fine once I have a garage and an appropriate
yeah,
place to
for
put
sure,
it.
man.
But
Yeah.
it's just cool seeing the different technologies, like how they work, and being able to,
Mhm.
yes, you can 3D print things, but you can't like
Yeah.
truly print clear. So like being able to like laser out some acrylic really
Mhm.
quickly, like it's rad. I mean, it
Oh yeah,
obviously. So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
um,
Acrylic's really fun.
it's gorgeous stuff, and I'm a sucker for LEDs. So the ability to like etch in
Yeah.
acrylic
Hmm.
and then oh, dude, it's so rad. Um,
Yeah, that's why I like resin too, like, because there's a lot of those clear resins that will look freaking awesome lit up. Like, oh man.
yeah, no, it's insane. I have you played around much with like resin pours?
I haven't, no. Like,
Okay.
I've always wanted to get
Yeah,
into
it's
doing that,
it's
but
it's on
yeah,
my
it's just another thing that I'm
yep.
like.
It's on my list. Resin
Yeah,
pours, and then making silicone molds and doing some casting. Screwed around with
yeah,
casting's
mhm,
always been on my list.
yeah,
It's on my list of 50, baby. But like my dad always jokes around me, but he's super serious. He's like, when I'm stressing out, I'm like, I got this list, and he's like, son,
yeah.
I'm he's like mid late 50s, and he tells me all the time, he's like, you're gonna die with a list. Like, don't worry about
Yeah,
the list. Take it one
yeah,
step at a time. And like, it's hard for
yeah,
me, like my brain, the way it works, to process that. I just see this never-ending list. But I'm like, you're right, man. Like, one thing at a time. Let's
yeah.
focus on it. Let's make it right, and then we'll
Yeah.
move on to the next thing. But
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
you'll get that more and more as you age, man. Like, it's definitely a thing that comes with age, especially after you go through a lot of stuff and, like, you start, like, realizing that yeah,
you're
you'll
like, nah, man, it's all right. I'll get to it when I get to it. Like, it's not that
exactly.
important right
Yeah,
now.
yeah,
Um,
that's where I'm at right now.
That's awesome. Yeah, I guess that's really the majority of it. There's a couple of random, more like specific laser things, but I don't think I really need to go into them. I guess we'll leave it open if there's anybody that has questions for Travis. I mean, I can tune in obviously as well, but mainly for Travis, let us know. We'll do questions for like 10 to 15 minutes here if there is questions, and if not, we'll probably start to wind down shortly here. Do you?
Yeah, Chelsea's been working with. She's talking about in the chat. She's been working with resin stuff. I saw she did some TikTok videos with, like, resin pouring and stuff. She's been
Oh, that's sick.
yeah.
I actually did see on Twitter. I might be mixing it up with someone else, but I swore it was almost like a beachy scene. Does that sound correct, or is that wrong? I swore.
Oh yeah, no, that was when they did for their. Are you talking about Chelsea?
Yeah, I swore it was Chelsea that posted
Yeah,
it.
they did a. I thought that they did that one for the Ori thing. Like, they did that, like,
Oh,
as a backdrop
yeah,
or
maybe
whatever.
it was for the Ori one. But I
Yeah.
swear it was more recent than that. I thought it was after I talked to them about Ori, but maybe I'm
Huh.
mistaken. But
Yeah, I might have missed that. I don't know.
yeah, the resin stuff's awesome. Like, I really like both. I mean, well, the channel that comes to mind off the top of my head is because they've taken resin and ran with it. But Evan and Caitlin have done a ton of resin stuff, man. Like, their custom table pours, and I've seen it at the office too. Just filling, like, getting
Uh,
wood or some medium, filling it, and then cleaning it up to make it where it's completely flush with it. It's gorgeous, man.
yeah, you guys have talked to them a lot. because they like always were hanging around with Matter Hackers, Evan and Caitlin and stuff. Like,
Yeah, I've actually never talked to them in person, man.
oh really?
Yeah, no, I know
Yeah,
of them.
I don't even know that much about them. They always
Yeah.
seem to like all like homey and like all this stuff. I'm like,
Yeah.
it wasn't my like cup of tea, but
Yeah, I have always been really big on DIY stuff, like whether it's home improvement stuff, like
yeah,
probably partially because I like to save money and do things myself, but
yeah, for sure.
also just it's like interesting to see what people do and like cool, that's how much it costed. So that's how I saw. And then yeah, they started playing around a lot with resins, and I think they ran with it because their content was doing really well and people liked it. But the resins, it's just interesting, man. Like the I also been following, and I talked about this on a previous video as well, but like dice casting for like D&D stuff. Like, dude, some of that stuff is freaking wicked cool. Like,
I've seen some people do that.
yeah, it's awesome. She says, "Oh, but I'm doing a Dory diorama." I think that might have been what I've seen. Is the Dory diorama?
Yeah, maybe I didn't see that. I didn't
Yeah,
see any of that.
I think it was fairly recent because I saw it. I remember it looked rad, but I shouldn't. I don't think she showed very much on it. It was very, very little. But
yeah, I've been very distant from social media, though, like especially the past few weeks, because I told you we moved.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
I've been
yeah.
like literally dealing with all like that equipment, like trying to re-network everything. Like
Yep.
it's been like crazy. So
No, I would anticipate. I try and play low. Twitter's kind of like my guilty pleasure, I guess, where I just scroll a little bit to see what's going on, but like I'm off Facebook, I'm off Instagram. Like I mean I have them, I just don't go on them. It's really just YouTube and then checking out what's going on with Twitter to make sure that the world's not still on fire, I was gonna say, but kind of maybe not the right timing, but anyways. All right. Well, I don't know if there's any questions. I mean, I guess if for some reason there's a question, you can leave it down in the comments when the video ends. This is going to be posted eventually when YouTube gets around to processing it, which that could be today or that could be tomorrow. But like I said, yeah. But like I said earlier, the video or the audio will be uploaded to Spotify and iTunes and Google Play, and I'll cut out the beginning where I had no audio and things were a little bit off. So you like if you missed that, you will stay missing that, which is fine. I'm not upset by this, some technical difficulties, but
that's really cool that you're doing that podcast like that too. I like that.
I just my goal was like to have a different medium. Like I like podcasts, man. I really do. And like when I
me too.
When I was traveling for work, it's just like kind of cool to have something. I don't need a visual. I'm just doing stuff, but I've got I can learn or get to know something. And so it was just kind of my idea. I was like, there's a lot of cool people I want to talk to, and like video format's great for people that want it, but for those that don't, very little of what we've done here requires a visual representation. You can kind of explain it. And
like I think it was literally when I walked over to the thing, that was like
it's it was a fidget spinner with graphics on it, like so, but that was kind of my goal, is just let's have another way for people if they want more content, they want to get to know myself and the other creators a bit more. This is a cool way, and again, if they do hear it on a different platform, because maybe they're not YouTube people and they want to check you out, obviously all that info is down below. So, but yeah, like I mentioned, I think everyone in chat does know who Travis and Heather are from A Pyro Design, the dynamic duo. And if not, again, links will be down below. Go over, follow him for whenever he does release his mystery project that we'll have to wait and see. And if you haven't liked the video, and I'll let Travis say his outro, and we'll end it on that then.
My outro has just been awesome, man. It's been really fun just like hanging out and chatting, and like I was kind of nervous when I came to this. I hadn't streamed in a long time, but this has been like really, really fun, man.
Yeah, my goal, my main goal of this thing is just keep it cash, baby. It's just me and you, man. Let's So yeah, thank you for coming on. I know that it was pretty last minute as well. With me moving, I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna be settled, and I was like, okay, I've got internet here through like Thursday. Let's do this. So thanks for being so willing to hop on it with, especially I didn't know that you were moving work stuff, so that